What's happening, YouTube? Ain't about that boxing. Today's topic is going to be pound for pound, Terence Crawford or Naoya Inoue. Who deserves the pound for pound? Who deserves to be top dog on pound for pound? Let's get into it. First, I want to thank all the new subscribers that have subscribed to the channel. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate everybody that's been stopping through. Getting lots of views on some of these videos. Could use a little bit more likes on these videos, y'all. Let's pump it up, man. Come on, man. Rock with me. Anyway, let's get into this conversation. Now, many people are debating this topic because you have those that feel that Inoue, with his latest victory, has put himself at the top of the pound for pound list. All right. So you have a lot of people that actually think, Inoue bumped Terence Crawford with this latest victory. I mean, y'all tell me what y'all think. I'm going to tell y'all what I think. First of all, as far as pound for pound, does it matter? Nope, it sure don't. It sure don't. If you out there smacking asses, it don't matter if you pound for pound. If you getting that bread, if you know you the top guy and nobody's beating you, it really doesn't matter. But for the sake of conversation, let's say it does matter for the sake of conversation, because there's no pound for pound belt. There's no pound for pound, like they don't got a trophy for it or nothing. So it really don't matter. You're not getting extra cash for being pound for pound, like nothing. So it really don't matter. To be honest with you guys, this is a very subjective conversation, because the topic of pound for pound, when you look at many of these channels, is very subjective. I mean, they're going to favor who they favor, and they're going to make sure that they try to push that person to the top of the pound for pound list no matter what. I mean, look at when Loma was considered pound for pound and he barely had bouts under his belt. He had like 13 bouts and they already calling him pound for pound. So that's what lets you know it's subjective, and that shit really don't matter. It's just something for somebody to scream out like your top 5 rappers. It's the same concept, guys. It's the same concept. It really doesn't matter. But if you want to break it down and we want to pretend like it matters, pretend like they have a title for it, let's pretend. Where do I stand? I think that Naoya Inoue did his thing this year. He has accomplished in a shorter amount of time pretty much just as much as Terence Crawford, if not more. If you go and you see what he's done, you know what I mean? He has won titles in like 4 different weight classes. He held the undisputed bantamweight championship, and then and now he's the undisputed champion in the 2nd division with the junior featherweight victory that he just had over Tapale. So he accomplished a lot, but there's a difference. Okay, let's take a look at the difference. Terence Crawford has 40 fights, 0 losses, 31 KOs. Inoue has 26 wins, 0 losses, and 23 KOs. Very good knockout percentage, by the way, for Inoue, if you guys haven't paid attention to this fighter. He's a boss. The monster is almost being too kind. This dude is a boss. Terence Crawford, let's look at his situation, though. Terence Crawford was heavily ducked most of his career. You see what I'm saying? He was heavily ducked. I believe way more guys were willing to challenge Inoue than Terence Crawford. Just being honest, because in those lighter weights like the bantamweights and the light featherweights and all that, those guys, they get down, bro. They don't have the same lack of energy as a lot of these other classes. And it seems like the heavier the weight class, the less active these guys are trying to be. I remember Mike Tyson fighting like 13 times in 1 year. You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy was active. You know what I mean? And a lot of the older cats, they fought 3 times, 4 times a year. You know what I'm saying? That was like the average guy. That's why if you look at these older guys' records, their records were so high. That's why their numbers was getting so high so fast. And they also took more risks, took more L's than the guys currently boxing. So to say that Inoue is less deserving, like I said, this is all subjective. If I was from Japan, where these weight classes are more popular. Mexico, these are very popular weight classes as well. A lot of these guys hold the titles in Korea, Vietnam, these different, places like that. These weight classes are very, very popular compared to in America, where we kind of at 135 really just started getting as popular as it's been. You know what I mean? So 135 on up seems to be what people are interested in. And literally, it's like seeming like maybe even the 168 division ain't getting that same love. It seems like at 154, between 135 and 154 is where all the real heat that people just like, oh my God. You know what I'm saying? So in my mind, I think Terence Crawford gets a little bit more of an edge because he had to work a little bit harder for it. And not saying that Inoue is not working hard for it, not in the boxing, in the terms of boxing and conditioning and all that. Oh, hell no. I'm sure Inoue is getting his work on. I mean, to be as good as he is at 30 and still be so dominant. And then the same thing with Terence Crawford, 36 and still so dominant. But he was so heavily ducked that a lot of fights that he probably would have ran through to make his resume even better than it is. And he has a good resume, whether people want to say it or not, he does. And I think Inoue has a decent resume as well. You know what I'm saying? He beat Stephen Fulton, who was who was doing his thing, you know what I'm saying, in that division. So, like I said, I just think that more Americans are going to lean towards Terence Crawford unless, you start playing the race card, which people like to play that so much. So, the race card definitely does have a factor where people want to say, oh, well, this dark dude and this dude, he might not be Mexican, but he's closer to us than that dark dude is. And you do have ignorant people like that, and that, that's how they make their judgment calls. But I can't hate on it. It's subjective. You know what I mean? I could hate on the racist part of it because to me, the better guy is just the better guy. It doesn't matter. I don't think that Terence Bud Crawford is any better than Naoya Inoue. As a matter of fact, I think Naoya Inoue in 6 years is probably going to do some real work in the business by the time he's the age of Terence Crawford. But my point is that this man deserves it because Bud Crawford eliminated somebody that you guys thought was his bester. The guy that would best Terence Crawford. Like most people that I was talking to, there were so many people that was rebutting me saying that, Bud Crawford finna run through this dude. And this is this is way before the fight, bro. This is when just the conversations were up 2 years ago, 3 years ago, people, when people was talking about the fight when it was old, you know what I'm saying? When, all right, dog, I'm tired of talking about this fight. You know what I mean? It was like that time period that I was already telling people what Terence would do to this guy because I felt like, taking nothing away from Errol Spence. He's a very chess match style boxer, bro. He's good at the basics. He's like the best at the basics. That's what I'll say about Errol Spence. He's the best at the basics. And he doesn't make very many mistakes, but he didn't have any. If you look at most of his opponents, if you look at his ops before Terence Crawford, a lot of these guys were already intimidated by his reputation. And Bud was not intimidated by that factor. He went in the ring and they felt each other out, like very short feeling out period. And then Bud just got to work and just destroyed this guy. So this is y'all's guy. This is equivalent to when Teofimo beat Lomachenko, bro. This is y'all's guy. How are y'all not going to give me this love? Y'all not going to give me what I deserve when I beat y'all's guy? You feel what I'm saying? Y'all said I was running from this guy. People was trying to say Bud Crawford was ducking Errol Spence. Like, what sense do that make? Go watch everything again. You will clearly see that Errol Spence really don't want this fight. He did not want this fight. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm giving the edge to Bud. Is also the fact that, like I said, it's subjective. To me, we don't show enough interest in those lower weight class. In my opinion, Inoue deserves to be number one just as much as Terence Crawford in the eyes of boxing. Like, just being honest, he does deserve it in a way. You know what I'm saying? No pun intended. No pun intended. In a way, he really does deserve it. So, he, you know what I'm saying, has put in lots of work this year. He's a very active fighter, very exciting, very explosive fighter. As those guys in those weight classes are. Those guys in that weight class, like, we really as Americans, we need to step our game up and stop not paying so much attention to these weight classes, you actually get a lot of your best fights are in these weight classes. Being honest, these should be fights of the years. Many of these fights, some of the fights that we have in the 140s, 135 and all that, if you look at the pace and everything that's happening in the fight, and then you go down to like 130 and you go down to like those lower weight classes, those bantamweights, and man, those guys are all action. They throwing like 1,000 punches in a fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all action compared to these fights. So it's just so backwards that we pay more attention to the fighters that only want to fight once every 18 months. We pay more attention in America to the fighters that people just hype up and they don't even got a good resume. Like, we pay more attention to stuff like that than we do these weight classes where these guys are getting down. They're not turning down challenges. These guys, almost all these guys just be facing each other because that weight division moves so fast. There's a lot of youth in those weight divisions because that's where guys are starting out. These guys are coming in, they 18 years old. They just, they turning pro, at real early ages, they turning pro. And so that's when you're smaller, and they taking advantage of these weight classes before their bodies start to change and they become men and they start holding that weight different. Basically what we saw happen with Devin, it just gets harder to make those weights. And if you ain't never boxed in your life, shut your ass up because you don't know. Just being real. Most of y'all out there can't even stick to a regular diet, bro. Most of y'all can't stick to a diet. You know what I mean? You go, I'm finna go on a diet. You breaking that shit in like 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. Somebody mentioned Buffalo Wild Wings and you going to Buffalo Wild Wings and just toe that diet down. So don't act like you know something that you don't know because you observe it, bro. Observing it and actually witnessing it for yourself, having to actually try to cut weight and all that, it's different than what you think it is. All right, it's very damaging to you as a fighter to have to cut too much. But anyway, back to this pound for pound thing, guys. I'm gonna give y'all the top three. In my opinion, in my subjective ass opinion, is Terence Crawford, just for the duck factor alone and how much he had to go through to get this. He had a promoter, Bob Arum, who wasn't even promoting him, talking about he need to learn to promote himself. He's not marketable and all that old trash. All right. So you're not giving the man the fights that he's supposed to get because he's not marketable. No, you're not giving that man the fights because you didn't want that man to be the man. Seriously. Come on, Bob. You've been around long enough to just tell the truth. You didn't want Terence Crawford to be in that spot. Anyway, I think it should be Terence because way more odds were stacked against him. Also, Inoue, he does his thing. I'm not upset at anything that he does. This dude is a great fighter, but I wish he would fight over here more. And I understand why he fights over there where he's more respected. I mean, in Japan, he's got like a what we call over here God status. You know what I mean? So it's not to offend nobody. I don't want nobody dropping religion on the channel again like they did when I was talking about Gervonta Tank Davis. Like, that ain't even really what it was about. But it's about giving that man his proper respect and wishing him the best, being that he's about to become a more disciplined person. That's what that video was about. And people was on there talking about because I don't like the way he move in boxing. Like, it's something wrong with, oh God, how you gonna say that about him? Oh, man, get up off of it, bro. That video was giving him the most respect in the lane that's most important, his personal life. That's the most important lane over boxing. How I feel about how he moved around in boxing, that's my opinion. Shut up. You got your opinion. Shut up. I mean, keep your opinion to yourself if you gotta be disrespectful. Shut up. Anyway, this is how I feel is Terence Crawford, Naoya Inoue, and then who bumped my second before the Inoue fight, who was Devin Haney. So Devin Haney is third for having to leave all his belts behind, move up to the 140, and instantly went against one of the boogeymen at 140, Regis Prograis, and literally shut him down. So, and even Regis had to respect him after the fact, respected his daddy and everything. So you can't take nothing from Dev. Anything past number 3, guys, I'm gonna have to go to the drawing board, and because it's moved around, and even in the past couple of weeks, things that have been happening in the past month, I would say really, I don't focus on pound for pound. Like I said, to me, it's very subjective. So I don't really focus on it. There's no title for it. There's nothing besides it's just some list at ESPN and you could tell it's subjective because they're putting heavyweights in the pound for pound list and it's not even made for heavyweights. It never was. How is the most supposedly professional venues for boxing, the most professional sports channels, ESPN even puts heavyweights in a pound for pound list? To be the heavyweight champion of the world is to be the one. Remember that movie Jet Li, The One? To be the heavyweight champion is to be the one. So that's a title within itself. So they don't need a pound for pound list. You are considered automatically the best above anybody, even pound for pound in a way. You know what I'm saying? So in actuality, you know what I'm saying, the pound for pound list was meant to glorify the lower weight classes that don't get that instant God status or that above all status, you know what I'm saying, when they become undisputed and other things like that. Whereas heavyweight champions, hell, it could be 3 heavyweight champions and all of them is getting like that same type of status, even though they ain't fought each other yet. Like that's how the heavyweight division used to be. Now I have to say Usyk is probably like one of my favorite heavyweights that's out there doing it. I think that he could probably pretty much run through anybody in that division right now, as long as they, you know, make the fights happen and stop ducking them. So that's it, guys. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all think it's Terence Crawford? Y'all think it's Naoya Inoue? Or if you got somebody else you want to throw in that you think that's not a heavyweight, go ahead, throw it down there. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to disrespect you and how you feel or who you feel is pound for pound. Give me your top 3. Give me your top 5. You know what I'm saying? Pound for pound. Not including heavyweights. That's what I want to put the emphasis on. I want to see if y'all really watching boxing. So that's it for me. Amp about that boxing. Like, subscribe, man. Hit them likes, hit them subscribes if you stopping through, for real. And let other people know about the channel, man. Blessings to all y'all, man. Y'all have a happy new year and all that. I'm out.